Georgia are through to the knockouts. Gentlemen.
It's brilliant.
It's the story of the tournament.
It's my favourite game in the tournament so far, I think. Partially because it means that miss against the Czech Republic from Saba Lobjanidze, I believe you pronounce it, is now irrelevant.
Yes.
He missed it really late on, and I thought that's going to haunt him for the rest of his days, and it was awful to witness someone have to sort of contend with that. Doesn't matter now, does it?
No.
They've reduced it to an irrelevance.
And I think my favourite moment of the tournament so far now has been replaced with the save by Mamardashvili.
Oh, that was brilliant as well.
Just top left, where the spiders live, just clawed out of the way. I mean, when you talk about like modern goalkeepers, you don't need all of your great deliveries from deep or your cool head and being amazing with your feet when you've got saves like that you can pull out.
Yeah,
at such important times.
Just keep it out the net.
Just keep it out the net.
Don't worry about 40 yards breaking the press with your transitional kicks.
Yeah, it's nice to have it though, isn't it? It's nice
it is nice to have that as well.
Yeah.
You can have that as well.
We do need it for progression.
I mean, this famous win, Jim, was built upon a mistake from Portugal. Khvicha Kvaratskhelia scoring after 2 minutes, and it was a beautiful finish. They had a lot to do, but they still managed to put it away.
Yeah, and you know what? Actually, that was another reason that I enjoyed this game so much was Kvaratskhelia having his moment like that, because we all love it when there's a sort of smaller nation that has a really, really big name, but the payoff of that is that there's a huge expectation on them, and every time that they're on the ball, you almost feel like you support the country. You're like, do something. This one's going to do something good. Like if you're there with someone who doesn't necessarily watch football so much, it's like, honestly, this guy. So there's that pressure on them to perform, and he's been good in the other games, but he really, really shone in this one. It was a great finish, and there's something just so aesthetically pleasing about him with the socks rolled down, just that kind of. He stands out, doesn't he, with his style and the way he moves, kind of sort of like shambolically and gracefully at the same time. He's a really, really unusual player.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He looks like he needs to sit in the bar. Like to look at him, you think, right, you need a bit of a haircut, you need a trim.
Yeah.
But I bet his feet are beautiful. Yeah. I bet he gets pedicures every other day.
Kvaratskhelia beautiful feet. Well, his beautiful head was seen in a photograph back in the day with Cristiano Ronaldo in 2013. Cristiano Ronaldo opened an academy in Georgia. And one of the kids there was actually Kvaratskhelia, which is just in the background. Yeah. And now he's absolutely shoving one right up his bum.
Yeah, there was a picture of them meeting in the in pre-game where obviously the team shake hands, and perhaps it was just a photo, but there appeared to be like a knowing look between them. So I get the impression they were both aware of that. Obviously, Kvaratskhelia was aware of it, but I get the impression that Ronaldo had been made aware of it. It was quite a sort of nice little moment.
Nice.
I'm really surprised that Ronaldo started.
It is bizarre because this was a bit of a dead rubber for them. They've already qualified whatever they do in this match. This could only have been him trying to beat his assists or goal record, and he could have been sent off or injured.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he did pick up a booking, didn't he? Which he was not happy about.
Oh, he was cruising for a red card bruising, wasn't he? He was absolutely beside him.
He was Mardy, wasn't he?
He was Mardy, and I think in his heart of hearts he probably thought, I'm a flat track bully at this point in my career, so I'm going to get a few here.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
And it wasn't going quite the way it should have gone. And I mean, he probably should have had a penalty because he was getting dragged all over the place with his shirt. But
yeah, I guess there's an argument there for that. It was a difficult day for Antonio Silva as well, wasn't it?
Yeah,
on the penalties, because obviously he gave the ball away leading to the first Georgia goal. He conceded the penalty. He also got in Ronaldo's way as a pretty decent ball from a set piece came over, which I imagine is probably. We might never see the man again. Who knows if he'll ever be found?
No. Did you see? I mean, to give Ronaldo his dues, that free kick that he took from about 50 yards out, still on target, still quick, and the keeper had to parry it over. It was good.
But you're not getting past Mamardashvili from there, are you?
No.
That wall was kind of weirdly placed, though, wasn't it? It looked like they thought he was going to hit a traditional free kick. He was always going to go the other side of the wall because it was quite central. But yeah, the thing I enjoyed most about that game was just how fearless Georgia are. And it's not necessarily a fearlessness that comes with a degree of ignorance. It's not like we've never been hurt before, so we'll keep doing this. Even though I'm sure that's part of it. Because it was quite structured as well. Like they put people behind the ball. Every time they counter-attack, they just make really correct decisions.
Yeah.
But you look at all of the excuses that our team, England, gave over countless generations. Oh, there's a bit of a rivalry here and there. None of those players play together in their domestic leagues. There was like 11 different leagues on show yesterday. It was just amazing to see, and the work rate.
Yeah.
Man, it was great.
The discipline was incredible, wasn't it? I think if you look at the circumstances of this match for Georgia, it makes it all the more impressive because they probably know at this point that Portugal are going to play a changed side, but they still go into it probably heavy underdogs. Portugal might not need the win necessarily, but they've still got amazing players who are trying to sort of force their way into the starting lineup. So it's an advantage to have that set of circumstances, but it's not like a huge advantage. But to have the discipline to play in the way they did, to just be pretty comfortable without the ball, and as you say, Vish, to really, really take advantage of the kind of counters when they had them and the breakaways, and always making the right decision. There was a point they could have gone 3-0 up. Actually, they had a good break and were sort of unlucky that the finish wasn't quite there. I think it's just one of the perfect execution of a game plan if you find yourself in that situation, because it's very, very high risk. You've got a point going into the last game against the best team in the group, have won their 2 other games. But for me, what impressed me so much about them was the mentality. You would, if you came to that game cold, you would not know the stakes were so high for Georgia. They were just so on it, so impressively mentally strong. And I think probably my favourite performance of the tournament for that reason.
Yeah.
They had something like 28% possession.
Don't
worry
exactly.
about it. Don't need the ball.
Even like Czech Kvaratskhelia, the midfielder who plays for Watford, he was outstanding throughout. He's had a brilliant tournament already. And, he's not exactly someone that people were looking at before the tournament and thinking, partly because of Kvaratskhelia, but I don't think people were realising that just how good he is because he plays for Watford. They didn't have a brilliant season in the Championship last year. He probably only had a decent second half of last season, and Watford only signed him on a permanent deal in February, but they'll probably be glad they did because they'll already have teams coming up to them. But also like Bekvatadze as well, there's their forward who obviously scored the penalty. He's top scorer in the Euros now, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Well, none of the top strikers are really firing.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's really sort
Well,
of
Lukaku's still trying to get the bucket off his foot. So, once he gets that off, he'll be fine. But
What went wrong here for Portugal? Is it just that they just love changing their system? They love changing their players? What is it here?
I think it looked like a little bit of I suppose it's like arrogance to a point. I think they probably thought they'd be able to get by. To be honest, I thought Georgia were kind of cooked after the last game, just the way it finished and what they needed to do to win. And I suppose Portugal were already through. They were already through as group winners. I mean, and they did rest like a handful of players as well. I think they've got eyes on things further down the line, but. Yeah, I suppose it was just annoying because the fans didn't look happy. I think that's important.
I think it was a bit of a perfect storm, really, wasn't it? Because obviously, this is a Portugal team we will likely kind of never see again, really, because it is just the other players in the squad who are vying for positions for those that are the automatic starters. So for them to have that mistake early on creates a bit of a perfect storm where they don't actually need to win the game. So you got to be sort of careful about how you approach it, so it doesn't get a bit silly. And Georgia just had more to play for, I think, and that discipline we spoke about before was a big factor of it. And obviously, we mentioned Antonio Silva already. Don't want to dig him out too much. Although Ali McCoy kept saying that and then kept coming back to talking about how shit he'd been, which is really enjoyable.
The commentaries described Georgia as being like 11 puppies or something, which sounds really disrespectful.
But puppies in low socks is extra cute.
That is extra cute, to be fair.
But yeah, I think possibly that's just part of it, isn't it? It's the sort of perfect set of circumstances for this type of upset. It's also kind of rare that a team wins 3 games in the group, isn't it? I know Spain have managed it this time, but they are the only team that's managed it. And they also took a similar approach in their third group game with changing everybody around.
Yeah, well, more perfect storms coming up later on in the show. Portugal will be facing Slovenia. You'd imagine they'd get through there. But Georgia, they're playing Spain, which might be a step too far-ish if they were gassed after the last match.
Well, yes, but on paper and on the pitch, probably it'll prove to be that Spain are a much better team than Georgia. It's quite a good matchup, though. This Spain team are pretty direct. They go back and forth. I appreciate Georgia in the way they play, leave gaps to be countered, but I don't know. You.
But like you say, they're comfortable without the ball as well. Which
I mean, Portugal did have their chances yesterday. But yeah, this is why they're in it. Like they'd love. I think they'd be so up for this. So it's on the 30th of June. So that's this Sunday. They can enjoy what they've had now and build towards it. I think it's going to be a brilliant game. Spain are going to win, but it's going to be a brilliant game.
Actually, a real kind of signature of recent tournaments has been Alvaro Morata, football's most goth man, looking really sad and despondent and not quite able to comprehend what's happening. And we've not seen that yet. So perhaps Georgia are the team that will bring that out.
Yeah, that's true.
Because you're right, they're going to take exactly the same approach against Spain as they did in this game, presumably, and they are comfortable in it.
Maybe Morata's at that stage of his career, though, where he's kind of sold out of being a goth, and now he's just going to be rich and happy.
That kind of work. Well, this result does mean that England will play Slovakia on Sunday instead of the Dutch. You'd have had that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
First kick of the ball in this tournament, Jim.
Absolutely. I can see Marcus rubbing his hands with glee at the very prospect of it. Marcus has been amazing at being across the permutations of what all these things mean for England. Like a lot of people would have needed some sort of quite complex mathematics degrees to be able to work it out in an instant. Marcus, it's no trouble for him. He is savant-like when it comes to England.
You remember like Alan Partridge on the Day-to-Day had that big kind of like computational kind of like, it was like
supercomputer.
A supercomputer. It was like loads of sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
That's
the
what I'm
road to the
imagining.
World Cup.
Yeah, the road to the World Cup. It just it's a little bit how I imagine Marcus has set himself up in his bedroom.
Yeah, very much so. So it's an incredible draw for England, isn't it? I just said to some friends of mine that we won that group.
Keep getting away with this.
You look at the group and it's like you're being gaslit by an Excel spreadsheet. It's like, this is like what? How have we managed to do this? Everybody else that you'd kind of want to avoid, particularly in the last 16s, on the other side of it. Yeah. I think Italy or Switzerland will be tricky for England if we get past Slovakia, but it is a plum draw, isn't it? It's another team though where the pressure is on England in a sense that you'd expect us to win, and we've been so cagey and so kind of
we don't need poor teams, really.
Like
we want good teams.
But I wonder if
to learn how to play and love.
England should already know how to play and how to love, but they should get through this game. He sure does, doesn't he?
Foden does repeatedly.
Yeah, he's returned home for another little Foden, isn't he?
Foden.
But yeah, England should win this game. Obviously, I don't think it's arrogant or too jinxy to say that. But I really hope that the very nature of knockout tournament and or the knockout stages of tournaments and how much more exciting they are by the nature of it will kickstart a bit of good feeling.
Yeah,
because I think with England at the moment, you often hear people say that happiness being the gap between reality and expectations and the size of that gap. Yeah. And I think actually the reality of England is top the group, gone through. But the expectations are that we're going to enjoy it. So we just maybe have to look at this as if we're Greek and it's 2004.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Well, as you said, Jim, Foden has left the England camp to help deliver a baby, I guess.
Yeah. His own.
Well, I mean, he's done his bit. Just support.
He's done his bit.
Yeah. Don't get involved.
I've done my bit.
Leave that to the pros.
Although it's his third kid, he's probably used to it now.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. But he will be back for the game versus Slovakia on Sunday. But he has flown to the UK. It may or may not mean that Southgate will lean on Anthony Gordon, but we imagine if Foden is in the dugout, Foden will be on the pitch.
Well, yeah, I would think though, if he's had 2 flights and probably very little sleep and all the sort of the emotion that comes with having a new baby, it might be a bit mad to start.
He'll be smoking a cigar as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not good on your lungs, is it?
No. Absolutely not, as I understand it.
Yeah.
So surely this is a chance for Gordon to start. And also Luke Shaw has declared himself fit and available, so we might have a functioning left side. Which is a game changer, and then we can all start getting excited.
Yeah, we've always wanted to. The left is coming back.
Southgate,
but it's drifted very centrally.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, like Foden. But to be fair, it's not that big a flight, is it?
So no, it's not that big a flight. It is the lack of sleep thing, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how a partner would deal with you going, I'm here, but I can only, I've got to have 8 hours sleep every day.
But I think that, I think that is the case though. Like you hear a lot of times whenever young families are away with, or whether the player has their young family with them, they'll often get them a second adjoining room so they can sleep
Right, okay.
away from like the mother and the child.
I see.
So,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Right.
My sister and her partner, he gets away whenever they go to hotels. He gets his own room so he can just relax and sleep. I don't know how Helen Donaldson is dealing with this.
Ooh, that's a bit.
That's naughty, isn't it?
So is she allowed to use that room as well?
Yeah, no, but I think
They do have kids, right?
They do have kids. Yeah, they've got 2 kids. So she has the kids in her room, and he gets to have a little snooze.
Yeah, but then can she have a snooze and be like, "Can you look after the kids while I have a snooze?" Or
I think it's
they're an
mainly
alternate, basically.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting little quirk of the family.
Any more family secrets?
I've got a half brother I've never met. Anyway. It's true. According to Opta, Foden has passed the ball more times to Jordan Pickford, 3 times, than to Harry Kane, 1 at the Euros so far. Is this why Harry Kane's not really looked very interested in actually putting the ball in the back of the net? Or have we got much bigger problems to worry about and it's mainly on our left side?
You make it sound like Kane is in the middle, like on the edge of the box, and Foden's there, and he looks at it. And Kane's like, please. He's like, just turns around and hoofs at 80 yards to Pickford. No,
Yay.
you can't keep getting away with this.
Yeah, I just can't see them changing it all up for the sake of it. I think if Foden's there, he's going to be in there, and Luke Shaw will probably be remaining on the bench for another match, keeping himself fresh for Italy.
Well,
or
fresh for what? Because I suppose the further you get, and maybe actually this game is the best game for him, because the further you get, the less likely Southgate is to gamble on someone's fitness. So I suppose regardless of what happens, whether he starts or not, you almost think you don't want to talk about a knockout fixture in this manner. But certainly, if England are in a stage where they're looking pretty comfortable, get minutes into him.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Go 1-0 up, take him off. Just sit back. Everyone left back.
Dr. Permutations, Andy, Luke and Jim will be back tomorrow to talk all things next round. Czech Republic 1, Turkey 2. 16 yellow cards during this game, 4 of which were given to the players who weren't actually on the pitch, Jim. It was
stuff.
It was a bit of a fracas, wasn't it?
It was a fracas, yeah.
It's hard to sort of figure out who to give yellow cards to. Could they not just sort of go, right, we're not going to do anything now, we'll VAR it, you'll see him in the post, you know.
Yeah.
That'd be great if you actually received a yellow card in the post.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get served documents in America. You've got to trick yourself into serving documents.
Yeah.
It's a weird quirk, isn't it?
If you open it up, take it out of the envelope, realise what it is. Oh, fuck, I've booked myself. Shit. If I hadn't taken that out, it would have been fine.
Schrodinger's booking. Could be red, could be yellow.
And the envelope is shaped like a big pocket.
Yes.
A big black
Lovely.
pocket.
What
on
have you got in your
shirt.
pocket? Yeah. What else could be in there, though?
Red.
Yeah.
Red, yeah.
Because
Yellow,
sometimes you accidentally bring the red out when you're not meant to use it.
Condom keys, I don't know. What have you got in there? What have you keep in your pockets?
You said that like it was keys to a condom.
What, like a separate little kind of like fanny case that you open up for your special condom?
Yeah, you know, like people have like little tins for their like smoking paraphernalia.
Yes.
You had like a little thing.
Little shag tin.
A little shag tin,
Czech Republic went down to 10 men after 20 minutes with Anton and Barak getting 2 yellows. It didn't feel like that ill-tempered an affair, but somehow everybody got yellows in this match and then a red.
What it came from, wasn't it? I think the Czechs were a little bit in disagreement, shall we say, that the second challenge was a yellow. And I think it all stems from that because, oh God, to play a game in those circumstances with 10 men for so long is so difficult. And obviously they did pretty well to keep Turkey out for a long time, but that finish from Çalhanoğlu, similar actually to Kvaratskhelia in the sense that like he's the guy, right? He's the main man. You want them to deliver. You want them to sort of lead by example and set the tone and give you those moments. And he stepped up and he did that. But they did really well to get back into it.
Yeah. I mean, we had 16 yellows during the game, but it's worth mentioning that by the end of, I don't even say at the end of the game, like at the end of them leaving the stadium, 18 yellows were dispatched and 2 reds in total after a big fight at the end. I mean, it was just endless, wasn't it?
Yeah, it might be a way to keep footballers in check in their private lives, actually. You could be booked at any time.
I think that's the case. If you're still on the ground, you can.
It's like a citizen's arrest style thing, though.
Yeah.
Anyone can book a footballer for behaving badly.
Like a citizen's yellow.
Yeah.
Tosin got the winner. 4 minutes after the end of the normal time, and we are in a situation where Cenk Tosun will probably get another move. One in 3 months for Besiktas. He's doing all right, but there'll be managers out there who look at him as a 33-year-old striker and go, you know what? I can fix him. I can turn him into something special.
When did your interest in Czech Tosun start?
Because he was linked to Newcastle a little while ago under Ashley, and I had
I knew it.
And then he went to Everton, and he underwhelmed there. And I thought we could have got something out of him. He had Mitro written all over him, to be honest.
I see.
Because Mitro drew on him.
You've always taken an unhealthy interest, I would go as far as to say, in Czech Tosun.
Yeah. I don't know why.
I pegged him as a fraud. But this explains it, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's the hope that kills you, Jim. There's
a little bit.
You were sad that a player you didn't actually end up signing probably would have been a bit shit had you signed them.
Yeah, exactly.
God,
exactly
Ashley really did a number on you guys, didn't he?
Really damaged. Well, they've been rewarded for that big turnaround in this match against the Czechs. Playing Austria, which is no good. The way that Austria are playing at the moment, they're not going to get much change out of them, are they?
Probably not, no. Although it's a great one because it means you got Turkey or Austria in the quarters, which is great.
Yeah. Well, Czech Republic going home, which isn't a massive bit of travelling, to be honest. Less of a Foden trip, more of a 20 quid job on the Interrail.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad. I live very near the Emirates now, and when we lose, and I'm home after like 3 minutes, I'm like, I haven't really processed this.
Yeah.
I can hear the away fans singing, and I'm in my kitchen. This isn't ideal.
That's adorable. Well, coming up in the second half, we'll have a bit of Ukraine, Belgium, and Slovakia, Romania.
After review, there was no offside offense. However, prior to the goal, there was a foul committed by St. Louis. The final decision is direct free kick.
Acknowledge
oh my
me.
God.
It's like pro wrestling.
Yeah, no,
It was
so wrestling.
It was amazing.
I'm not against it, though. I'd like to hear like those little weedy British referees we've got.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a handball in the build-up. Czech Tosun playing for Birmingham City.
Or if we really lean into the WWE thing, it's like, and a penalty has been awarded because we're in Burnley.
And spears are allowed. Ukraine 0, Belgium 0. Ukraine couldn't make it over the line. All 4 teams in Group E finished on 4 points. They are the first team to ever finish bottom on 4 points.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to sort of say, you have agency in this. You can win football matches. That is up to you. You can get out of it. But a real shame because there have been a lot of underperforming teams in this competition, and Ukraine just couldn't make it over the line.
Yeah, no, it's a real shame. They didn't create a lot, though, did they? They had one pretty good chance. It was fired straight at the goalkeeper. Belgium was stodgy as hell as well, weren't they? It was a real... It looked like a lot of players that have had heavy, long seasons, didn't this game? And actually, Belgium give me a bit of pause for thought about England, really, because it's similar sort of reaction from the crowd, isn't it? Although much, much worse. I think the end of the game, Kevin De Bruyne sort of starting to go over to the Belgian fans, then realising the vitriol was so much that... he essentially just decided not to for whatever reason, led the team away.
He's got that in him, though, hasn't he, De Bruyne? He's a down at heel chap at times. He's a bit Eeyore, isn't he? He's very much like he will, but then he's quite outspoken at the same time, quite honest, I think. But the problem is when you're honest and you're a bit of a misery cunt, you just it's not great, is it?
It comes across badly.
Yeah.
I was trying to work out whether he obviously didn't want to go over. They were like, because they're booing us, they fuck them.
Fuck them, yeah.
But also,
it was
there's
a bit Rooney, wasn't it? Rooney walking off the field going,
but then
he's booing us.
Yeah, but also it's he probably thought, actually, what is the benefit of us going over there? Are we going to convince them that actually you'll be all right?
Yeah,
it's not quite a conversation.
Shuttle runs,
yeah,
like working out.
We'll try really hard now.
Yeah,
and then also
sort of impromptu question time.
Yeah.
How do you think that went?
Yes,
the man in the crown.
Yeah, and then they say something quite generic, and everyone's like, "Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, he is a twat. Yeah." But then I also thought, actually, from a senior player, captain point of view, probably saving the players from that is not a bad thing, because we think about like their high profile players who essentially those boos are directed at because of Belgium's general underperformance in major tournaments, partly because they should be in the final of all of them, given their
ranking.
Given their ranking, but obviously given their quality. And I appreciate they've come close a couple of times and missed out by the odd goal here and there of actually doing that. But it's going to be quiet. If you're like even someone like Jeremy Doku who plays at a high level, it's probably going to think.
And it's been a highlight for him as well.
Generally. Yeah.
But I've said that about England. Like, I don't know why. I can understand why it gets players goats, because you do your best, and you're losing a football match at the end of the day. You're not doing anything horrific, and you're still getting booed by like thousands of people who you're there to they're there to see you, and they love you when you score. But good God, it can be really toxic when you lose.
It really can, can't it? And I think it's a reminder of I think you forget about this until like a tournament is actually happening, however many tournaments you see and however much you experience it, that the difference in emotions in watching the game, and I would assume playing the game as well, are so much bigger because you have the expectation of a nation on you. I think, when we were watching the game the other day in the pub, like every single kick of that ball has the potential to be a moment that is sort of like indelibly marked into the country's cultural and sporting history forever. So you're sort of glued to everything in a way that you might not otherwise be.
Yeah.
And surely that just gets to players.
Yeah.
If your club puts in a slightly underwhelming shit performance, there's another one around the corner, and there's a chance for the teams to play into form and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But this feels different.
And also, like I think with club football as well, you could be booing the chairman, you could be booing loads of different people.
Mike Dean
back
in the day.
Yeah, and but in this case, they were very much booing the performers on the pitch,
which was justified because they were very laboured.
They were awful.
They were really, they were almost cowardly to a point, considering they were the better team. They could have pushed for a result. I appreciate one goal would have meant they were eliminated outright, but they, especially after the performance they had against Romania, where they looked pretty bright. They were obviously given space, but they looked good, and people were starting to talk about them again as a force in this tournament. And obviously they still are, but you'd be I totally understand why you'd be annoyed as a fan, because it just wasn't good enough.
Well, Tedesco blamed the lack of preparation time arriving into the stadium as a real issue. I think he only had 15 minutes for a team talk or something like that. Right. And it's kind of like, fine, but you've had all week to...
Yeah, you've been on the training pitch.
You've had this fixture in your head for quite a while, and you kind of know what this team is all about. And also, he blamed laser pens being shot in the...
There's a lot of those,
That, to me, smacks of someone who doesn't know why that performance has come in. And that happens a lot, doesn't it? Really. But I think... Ukraine are a tricky team, obviously. So I understand you've got to have an eye on not losing the game. But I think they were far too focused on that. But also, their decision-making wasn't great. There was a point where Yannick Carrasco really should have threaded Kevin De Bruyne in, but he shot. And I don't know, maybe players are vulnerable to thinking they're going to have their tournament moment, and it makes them make poor decisions. We've seen it a few times. And they can't be playing like that when they're otherwise so sort of dysfunctional, especially because that's exactly what they weren't doing in the last game, and they were really good.
Yeah, and what they were holding was, they were already through, basically. Well, not already through, but like they had the capacity to keep it within their control, and what they wanted to keep was, a knockout match against France.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's crazy.
I mean, De Bruyne, if you want that big money move to Saudi. You better pull your socks up, sunshine.
I think he can do whatever he likes with his socks.
He probably can,
they'll gladly take him.
Probably eat him. Well, look, Lukaku's coming into this tournament, not on a bit of form, but like he looked better than he has in previous tournaments, and he's had the most disallowed goals, which obviously not necessarily his fault, but the 3 there. He's missed the most big chances, 6, and had the most shots on target, 7. Like it's
like inert chaos, isn't it? It's a really weird thing.
Well, he's taken on the Morata Eeyore.
Yeah, maybe.
But I mean, it sounds like De Bruyne, as part of him trying to sort of rally the team a bit. With Tedesco, they were seen at the end of the match giving a big team talk on the field and stuff, and Tedesco actually told the cameraman to get lost because they didn't want to know what they were talking about. But I mean, fundamentally, like it's this weird siege mentality where it's De Bruyne, his team against everyone, including his own fans, which is
very familiar, isn't it?
It is very familiar. Maybe that's what he's trying to foster. Leandro Trossard's father hit out Tedesco earlier this week. It's after Trossard was dropped to the bench against Romania. He obviously started in this game. Has there ever been a useful familial relationship kind of outburst? Has there ever been anything useful coming out of any of these? Like a dad or a mum or a brother or a sister or a wife?
Arsenal dads. Aaron Ramsdale's dad's the same as well.
Okay,
Mikel Arteta needs to call all the dads together and like have a word.
Dad chat. Yeah.
Just have a big barbecue that they could all stand around it. Thrash it out.
Do either of your dads listen to the Ramble ever? Do they have they ever picked apart any of your performances?
I'm not sure. My dad would know how to download it.
It's very easy, actually. Tell them how you download it.
I will. Yeah.
I think my dad listened to the first one I ever did.
Right.
And has tried to, basically, because of my job, whenever my parents want to A, find out what I've been doing, or B, find out where I am, they just Google my name. Generally. So often it's my Twitter account that comes up, and they'll be like, oh.
He's on tour with England.
Yeah, and I'll have taken a photo of a cricket ground. They'll obviously know I'm out of the country, but they wouldn't know necessarily where I was in whatever country I was in.
What's he doing in Islington Dive Bar Slim Jims at 2 a.m?
Hanging out with some bloody legends, that's what I'm hearing.
Oh, good, because Instagram comes up as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I got a few people texting that they'd seen me on your Instagram, and I looked like, those guys in like the Gervais TV shows and stuff, like the guy with the long hair and the teeth. And
Brian Gittins.
Brian Gittins, yeah, I've been getting a lot of that lately. I might shave the beard. Right, as we said, Belgium will be facing France in the next round.
It's funny, isn't it? The first knockout game is always a real moment in a tournament because suddenly a team are out and it feels so brutal. It feels so harsh that you've slogged through the groups. Everybody's been involved in this big party up to now, and then suddenly they start dropping like flies.
Fries, good old fries.
Belgium.
Yeah,
and France. Oh, it's a fries derby.
It is a fries derby.
Shit.
Whoa. Did the French have mayonnaise on them?
I was just thinking that. Maybe.
I said possibly a moule frite.
Or like blood from the from the blue steak next to it dripping over,
or from the lyrics to the Marseillaise.
Yeah,
the blood soaked in the blood of their enemies.
Well, elsewhere, Dan at Lupu was right. Slovakia won, Romania won. I'm not sure whether he said score draw. I think he might have said a goalless draw had already been arranged, but he was on a bit of a mad one.
Not helpful, was it? Not even remotely helpful.
Well, this scoreline was very helpful.
If they've actually done that, shut up. If they haven't, also shut up.
It's like D-Bex with his yellow card that time, wasn't he?
Yeah.
If I got another yellow card, I would have seen off my... Don't tell everyone, you idiot.
Yeah.
You'll get sanctioned, you big fool. But the game was played in the middle of one hell of a thunderstorm. There was a moment where a bit of a quantum of lightning hit the roof of the stadium and was followed by loads and loads of rain. And the reaction from the crowd was like, "Oh my god,
that was great."
It was good. Maybe it was just God trying to inject a little bit of life into this.
Maybe.
God damn it.
Maybe.
Or trying to get Lupo. I don't know. He probably wasn't at the
trying
game.
to get him.
Get Lupo.
Of all the things happening in the world, God, what did he say? What?
I will not have the global game brought into disrepute.
When you talk like that, like about a person like Mama UEFA.
I created Mama UEFA.
Could it have been the German government accidentally turning on their weather machine? I keep hearing from some ex-footballers that governments can control weather now, so it could have been that. Could have been a mistake.
Some ex-footballers. Talented, mercurial ones that didn't work very hard in their careers and stayed at one club all their career.
One of them, for sure.
Good stuff. But Romania did finish top of the group with this one. But the Slovakia goal did put them at the bottom of the table. I mean, it was all to play for in this group, wasn't it? So it kind of went up and down.
Yeah, it really did. It's nice to have seen both Romania and Austria deliver on the sort of like pre-tournament kind of hipster choices.
Yeah, that's fair, yeah.
Romania have been a lot of fun.
Yeah, after Albania let me down, crying out loud, taking their pot shots from miles out.
Well, that's the other exciting thing about this next knockout stage is that a lot of the teams that get through are quite direct teams, very back to front teams in the way they play, and the matchups accordingly are quite nice because you've got bigger teams thinking, well, we'll get a lot of the ball and we'll make sure that we squeeze and this, that, and the other. But Romania, Austria and Georgia are a bit like, nah, don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Don't give a shit. We're just gonna try and run through you. Doesn't matter.
But there was no football on the television today.
Weird.
It's just very upsetting. I don't know what I'm going to do in my life. Probably tidy up my house.
England are in the semi-finals of the T20 World Cup, Pete.
Oh, okay, right.
There you
Is
go.
that what you're going to be watching?
Yeah. You can prime yourselves for Sunday.
Lovely. What's been your highlight of the competition? Mine was very much the Georgian keeper doing an absolute worldy save to claw one out.
There were loads yesterday with Georgia, lightning strikes,
Yeah.
all that stuff. I think possibly Christian Eriksen scoring.
Yeah.
That's a lovely moment.
A redemption arc.
Yeah, or not even a redemption arc, just a
biblical resurrection arc.
Well, yeah,
you would say,
resurrection arc, I suppose.
The snapping of the spaghetti. By the
Yes,
Albanian
the
fans.
food
that was
wars.
great.
The food
wars have been good.
wars.
The snapping of a man's hand by Nicholas Fulcroot as well.
Oh, yes, yeah,
Yes. I forgot about him. Oh, he'll be back.
I suppose like a sincere answer, Scotland's anthems. They've always been.
Yeah.
It's a banger anyway, but it's always good with football.
A lot of willies on shore when the Scottish are in town.
Yeah. Because you have to really. There's only one way to
have
wear
to.
it, apparently. I would also say generally Georgia. But I suppose the reason I'm not saying that is because we get more Georgia. I think I would have been sad if they'd got knocked out, if that was the end of it. But then it would have been nice to have had them either way. But I think I'll pick Georgia as my.
If Ukraine had gone further, there might be an argument to say, that's a good news story. It's obviously what's taking place in their country. But obviously, Georgia are facing elections that, if early indications are to be believed, they're going to go pro Putin just to for self-preservation more than anything else. But my mate was down with the Georgian fans at the match, and he said they're in incredibly good spirits, but they are thinking that this is their last hurrah before some really dark days, and there's going to be dark days for Europe ahead, you would imagine. But England are still favourite with the bookies. That's the good news story.
The segue from talking quite seriously about geopolitical issues to England are favourites now. So.
Yeah, I could do 5 Live if they call me. But they are still favourites of the bookies. Do you see a route to the final for England right now? I'm sure Marcus will have his opinion tomorrow.
Yeah,
but I'm just let's have like the little kind of entree.
Wow, it is the kindest side of the draw by some distance.
How do we get away with this again?
I don't know.
I don't know. We must have paid someone.
It's
It's happened quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does happen quite a lot.
It's phenomenal admin from Southgate. You got to give him that. It's ridiculous, but very, very welcome. So, I mean, my theory on England in knockout tournaments is that in the past, more so, we've always struggled to overcome an inferiority complex against nations that have a history in the tournament. So I think, even though I feel like we might have a harder game on the pitch against Switzerland, I think we might have a harder time mentally in our heads against Italy. And obviously we've beaten them on the way to this tournament in qualifying, and that there'll be a sort of, if we end up playing Italy, there'd be a sort of revenge element to it, which I think might be kind of unhelpful.
Because it will forget about the fact that we beat them in the qualifiers, and we'll put more on it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and
Maybe
worry
shirt
ourselves
pulling.
to penalties,
Yes.
and like recreate the nightmare scenario again. That feels like the most potentially typically England thing possible. But
when we get to those penalties, it's not quite as harrowing because we've seen us win them in recent periods of time.
I don't know, because that's going to be fresh in the mind, isn't it? Really. So one of the good things Southgate has done, though, is managed to sort of avoid falling into the traps of previous England campaigns. But this one does feel like that might be a little bit of a regression on that front. So I find it hard to see a route to the final for England, to be honest, based on the performances we've seen so far. But that a lot of the fancy teams have been a bit shit, and you grow into a tournament, etc., etc. If we've got a functioning left side against Slovakia now, and they do some work on the training ground to sort of essentially get more out of the players we have and make them more effective in the positions we actually want them to be operating in, then there is no reason that England can't click into gear and be better. So, I'm optimistic to a point that we'll be better from now on. I mean, that's the best I can do. I think.
Vish, if you're an England footballer, do you want to play for the fans who just think you're absolute rubbish? Because it's all that's been spoken about England is that they've just been absolutely horrific. And I do worry about the psyche of a team like that has to go into a match where they're sort of going, if we do anything, we can't even get away with just sort of sneaking through now. We have to somehow be this kind of free-flowing, amazing football team.
Well, I think it flips though, doesn't it? Because I would say a lot of the criticism with how England have played during the group stages is not necessarily that people think we should be smashing those teams that we're in the group with. It's more because people are looking ahead and thinking, God, like, I thought we'd had more to give, but if we play like this, we're not going to get the ultimate aim, which is to win the Euros.
So this is maybe sort of a more positive angle to take. Of all the teams we've seen so far, how many of them do you think have got a good chance of scoring against England? Because defensively they've been really, really good, and we were all worried about the defence, and there are still issues with it on the left hand side. And
they've been restricted
despite
to
that,
whackers from
exactly. It was
yards,
a howitzer, as you put it, which can happen. Is the only time anyone's really had a decent sniff, and that's massive. It's absolutely massive.
Yeah, and as you said before, the teams who might be able to get something against England, they're all the way over there on the other side.
They're on the other side.
Yeah.
But there's a route there where England get to the semis and have to play, what most likely looks Austria, could potentially be the Netherlands. Yeah. But yeah, you take that given as what's the fight that's going on the other side. It's just the case of seeing a bit more. But I mean, the route is there, and it would be damning if they don't show improvement from the group stages, because they will look at that bracket now and regret it.
Yeah. Well, I think it is worth framing it that it has to be attacking improvement, right?
Yeah.
There have been a lot of defensive positives from England so far, almost exclusively defensive positives, and that's that's half the game essentially. So there are reasons to be positive. You might not have this absolute roller coaster of emotions watching the games, but if we scab every single game 1-0 and take it home at the end, we're all going to be delighted with that, right?
You're watching a clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single upload. Don't miss out on the uploads. The uploads are important.